Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar sessions today. In today's webinar, we will talk about how to use the tools and features in GovReports for client communications. And presenting today's webinar, we have Ali Cochran, a registered BAS agent who has been using GovReports for her own bookkeeping business for many years. So hopefully you can pick up a few tips on how Ali uses GovReports tools and features in her practice to communicate with her clients and improve the practice workflow. Before we start, can I get a raise of hand if you can hear me so that I know it's working? Thanks, Roger. Vicky. Okay, seems like most everyone can hear me. Great. The webinar will be recorded regardless and will be posted on the website by tomorrow morning. Hopefully, we didn't get to post the webinar yesterday by this morning, so it will be up on our website. But this webinar, hopefully, we have a consistent and be able to post it up on the website by tomorrow morning. For those that want to revisit the recording or and share that with other people who have not been able to attend the webinar today. During the session, if you have questions, please send them through on the chat box so Ali or myself can attend to them during the questions time. Without further ado, let us now start the sessions. Ali, over to you.
Thank you very much, Tiana, and hello everybody. Great to have you here this afternoon. So as Tiana mentioned, today we're going to look at the tools and features that we can use in GovReports for client communications. Pardon me. All right, so what we're going to look at today is we're going to look at the automatic email options, lodgement receipts, a very brief covering on digital signatures as we covered it in more details yesterday, ATO communications, and a little bit on letters and templates pertaining to communication. So I'm going to move across into our GovReports right now. Oh, wrong one. Helps if I go to the right one. There we go. So we're in our GovReports here and we're at the dashboard. Along the side here, we have the ways to navigate through the different parts of GovReports. And what we're going to look at first is we're going to look at our automatic email options. So to set up automatic email options, we're going to go into the settings in the top right-hand side of the screen. We're going to go to My Account, and we're going to choose the email setting. So there's a couple of things that we want to do whilst it's floating up. A couple of things that we want to do when we set this up. So at the moment, you can see here that there's nothing in the incoming email setting, and the outgoing email setting says GovReports. Within here, when we go to the edit email settings, you'll see that we can update the incoming email address, and we can also make a choice about who we want to use as the outgoing email provider. Now, when you choose one of the other ones, whether it's Microsoft, Gmail, or something like that, you will find here that you can put the information in about the email address, the display name, and a password. And you'll also get a little pop-up message that will tell you, certainly with Gmail and Microsoft Office, that you need, you can either use the current password without two-factor authentication, or you can create an app password and update. So it tells you a little bit here about how to do that, how to put in the additional information, and how to create it. Now, down the bottom section here is an area for you to be able to customize your signature. So how you'd like to end the settings when the emails go out, to make it that little bit more professional. Now, once we've completed that, we would update the information and submit it. I'm just going to put it back to GovReports for the moment because this is a test file. And we would submit that through for it to take effect. So we've set up those email settings. we now want to go through and look at some of the receipts that we can automate to be sent out via email to our clients. And the first one we're going to look at is our lodgement settings. So normally, after you've done a lodgement of some sort, whether it be a BAS, a TPAR, tax return, whatever it may be, you would like to email a receipt to the client that shows the lodgement has been lodged, a lodgement receipt, and you might like to also send through to them the payment options. So before I proceed there, Tiana, Roger is asking if we can include a logo in our signature in the emails.
Roger, you can, when you do the email the email setting, you can an outgoing email, you can also copy and paste your email signature, which would have your logos, your contact details along with it. But otherwise, documents, you can, if you go to My Business, and you can also upload your logo there, so that anything that you send out will also have documents that's prepared. It will also have your logo on it. But anything, if you have it on your email signature, it also will have your details there. The copy and paste your email signature, the images of your logo would also come across as well. So Ali, if you go to My Account and My Business,
I'm just going there.
I think that's, yep, and you can upload your logo. Business details, how you know how it's got, because this is the testing account, we uploaded the logo there.
So you can.
Yeah, I think so. Click on it, click on the logo.
Yes,
yep,
so
and
you've
you
got
can upload.
Update logo button here.
Yep.
Wonderful. All right.
Okay.
So going back and talking now about these lodgement receipts. So we want to set up some automated receipts so that once the lodgement has been come and the receipt comes back, it gets automatically emailed out to the client. So to do that, we go back to our main screen here again. Once again, this time we're going to go into settings, but we're going to go this time into our lodgement settings. Now, when we get into our lodgement settings, we go to our report settings. In here, we want to tick the little box. We can change they've got the report name there, which will pick up from the lodgement. And, might say, BAS lodged successfully, whatever it may be. And then once again, we can configure our email message here, edit our signature. So you can see in here, you could also put the signature in with your logo and the rest. In my client configuration here, I can choose one, some, or all the clients. So if I want to assign them all, I can go assign all. It will tick them all, or unassign all, whatever it may be. I would save my changes. And this will mean that it will email out the copy of the receipt to those clients once the lodgement receipt comes back into GovReports. This saves you having to do it manually, but I will also show you if you want to email out a receipt to a client manually, how we do that as well. So that's your automated method to help streamline the processes. So I'm going to go now back to my home, and I'm going to go into my lodgements, and I'm going to go to the history. And what I'm looking for here are the ones that have been lodged. So when I click on Field International, you'll see that I can click on the word email here, or I could download a copy of the receipt here by clicking on the receipt and the payment option, which would give me the option to download and attach it separately. But I always use the email here. Now, provided that all my client details have been entered correctly, it should pre-populate with the email address of the client, because that should be in there normally when you've sent it out. If not to fear, you can type in the, you'll find that you can type in the email address here. You can update the subject here if you want to, but you'll notice now that down the bottom here, you'll have a copy of the activity statement, the lodgement receipt, and the payment options all in one go. And this is the one that I always use when I send off to my clients after the lodgement's been made, because it encapsulates the signed BAS or whatever it may be you're sending, a copy of the receipt, and it also gives the payment option. So all three are contained in that one email. That way the client can then act on that and take over doing the payment side of it on their own. So that's a little bit about how we can automate our lodgement receipts, but also how we can also do them manually, but email them through and communicate with our clients this way. Any questions on that so far before I move on briefly to digital signatures? Fantastic. If you were with us yesterday, we went into a little bit more detail about digital signatures, and we're going to cover a little bit of that again today, but we're going to do it in much briefer method because that recording will be up on the website. A question there from Roger. Can these PDF documents be password protected in GovReports, or must this be done in Adobe Documents? So I'm going to pass that to Tiana. If we send the email out this way, can we password those, or does it have to be done in Adobe?
Password protected.
I'll come back to that.
Sandeep just mentions that it's has to be done in Adobe Documents.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, as you may or may not know, the GovReports digital authentication is integrated into all GovReports pricing plans. Now, those digital authenticated signatures have a much higher level of security, and they include the verification of the signature by embedding a public key cryptography in the signature. Now, you can use the digital authentication for all GovReports generated documents, as well as your own business documents that may require signatures. And you can do this from anywhere, anytime, with any device, because you're logging into GovReports online. So that makes it a little easier. So let's go and have a look at a report that we've saved, something I prepared a little earlier. This time it should work the way I wanted it to. We have a saved report here. Now, in order to send a document that you have prepared, a lodgement that you may have prepared for signature, it needs to be in a status of valid. When I click on the signed status here, I can then drop down my little 3-mark box. I don't know what you call that box. Some people call it a hamburger bar, and that's usually collapsing things. But the little 3-pronged box here, I'm going to click on this to send it for signature. And what that does is it opens up my digital authentication program, or of the part of the package, in a different tab. So you've still got the Saved Reports tab open here, but the Prepare Digital Authentication tab is a separate tab. Now you'll see that here there are 3 main areas that we want to look at. We have here, the document has already been uploaded when we sent it through, because we did it from the lodgement. If we needed to add any additional documents, we could do that by uploading the additional files here. They need to be in PDF format. We should have the recipients that are listed with that client. And in here, the main things to remember is you must have a name, email, designation, and access security. You may or may not need to have the security code or message, depending on the access security that you choose. When you drop down the list, you can see here that you can send a security code to the email address, which comes separately to the document. They receive the document and it tells them that they need a code, which it gets sent to it so they can open the document. Alternatively, you could set a security code and they would have to contact you to get that code for that additional security. And if you were really game, which I would never be, you'd have no security. You can also designate more, you can add more recipients in there, and you can designate some to be viewers or some to be signees. Down the bottom here, we have the message, a default message that is appearing with this document. And you can also click on My Saved Messages to create your own message, which you can then save to be used at a future date, where you can choose then from your drop-down list. Once we've gone through and we're happy with everything there, then we will go through and we will go to the next screen where it will present the document to us for signature. If you have a document that requires you to place your own signature on there, then you may want to make sure that you edit the signature here and set your signature up first. But in here at the moment, because I've got to go back and change, I've got to go back a screen. And why is it not going back the screen I want it to? Where's my back? It usually goes back. Because I've used the same email address, I'm just going to change this here so it doesn't do this. As what I logged in with, it thinks I want to sign it. So when I have this here, you'll see that I have the option to set the signature location for my client. When I do that, you get the little X. If it's a document that I also need to sign, I would choose place my signature, and I would place my signature somewhere here. Then I would set the signature location for the client, put my cross here, and send it off for signature. Now, as I mentioned before, you can edit the signature, your signature here, and you can either upload your own, draw it, or type it. So once that's done, we would send for signature. And when it's finished sending for its signature, your digital authentication My Documents screen will appear, showing you the status of all the documents you've sent out to sign. While it is pending its signature, I can go through, if I'm not happy, void it or delete it. If I void it, it means that if it's gone off to the client and they attempt to sign it, they won't be able to. Are there any questions on digital signature before I move on?
We do have a questions from Natalia, and I think it's been answered. It's relating to, just so that we can share with everyone. The question is, can email subject do not have TFN as it is in default email lodgement receipts? Natalia, we'll check this. We're not too, I wasn't aware that the subject line comes with the text file number, but I will check it, and if we will enable it for TFN to be hidden or removed from the subject, or even visible on the documents.
Okay. All right. If you do void a document within here, you need to give it a reason. I've just said error for mine, and then I'm just going to, because I don't need it, I'm just going to then archive it just to have a history there. Okay. I'm going to close my digital authentication now. If I go back to my saved reports, you'll see now that because I voided it and I archived it, it's returned to a status of valid. If I had left it there, it would have a different status. And for the life of me, I can't remember whether it's pending signature or processing, or I can't remember. No, processing is when it goes to the ATO. And it's just slipped my mind what the actual one is. All right. So one of the other things that we can do in GovReports is we can utilize GovReports to directly communicate with the ATO without having to necessarily log onto the tax or BAS agent portal. This makes things very much easier because everything is in the one location. Now, I'm not saying that absolutely everything you'll find on the portal we'll find in GovReports, but the most necessary things certainly are. And it's much easier just reconnecting if for some reason you've lost connectivity. If you're a BAS agent, quite often what happens is when a tax agent comes in, there's two little check boxes that they choose, and sometimes it disconnects the BAS agent, and the tax agent has then disconnected us from being able to do a BAS return. So we have to reconnect. And usually you had to go on the portal to do that. Well, we can now maintain that authorization within GovReports and communicate directly with the ATO that way. Now, using GovReports, we can extract our outstanding reports directly into GovReports without having to go into the portal to see what's outstanding. We can also extract, and you can see here under my lodgements, the outstanding reports. We can also extract an activity statement summary report. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look at the ATO services that we can see within the clients area. So if I go to my clients and I see my names here, you can see all the different things here. This is where I can add my clients, obviously. You can see in my actions here that I can open the client or I can click on forms. If I click on forms here, you'll see that I can select an activity statement for this client. It will go off and look for the date ranges it'll come up with, and you'll customize that. I'm just going to close that because I know it won't do what I want it to do. I'm going to actually open this because I want to go through and set up some more information. So you can see in here that you can actually pull the forms in. Now, when you've got a brand new client, the forms might not automatically have come in yet. You may not have got to that stage of setting that up. So we're going to do that. So we can download, as I mentioned, a form directly from the ATO if the outstanding reports haven't already got those details. We can open the client in here and we can go into our ATO services, and you'll see that we have a number of options within here that we can look at. So we can look at the ATO accounts, we can maintain that authorization, and when we click on the maintain authorization, it will connect to the ATO and will ask you what you need to reconnect to. I'm just going to close that because it won't go through. And you'll be asked to update that relevant information and submit it, and that will reconnect you if you've been disconnected. Now, in addition to these ATO services here, we also have some other options such as outstanding reports. So if I want Chelino to appear in the outstanding reports here, I'm going to make sure that I turn on the outstanding reports configuration. And when it comes up, I'm going to tell it that I want it to bring in the ATO forms into the outstanding reports. This saves me having to go through into the client each time, go to that forms button and download a relevant declaration. So you can see here it's already been ticked, and then we would normally, if it wasn't, we would tick it and we would click update. And from that time on, you would find that it would pull in the outstanding reports, and you can see them in two locations. You'll see them within the clients area, which is work in progress here, all the different jobs here. And you'll also find them here in the navigating area under the lodgements in the outstanding reports, which will list all the clients and all of their outstanding reports that you've selected.
It also will be also on your dashboard in one of the windows. As well, currently for BAS agents, because I think Ali's login as on the testing account today, she's using the BAS agents account. But if it's a tax agents account, you would have a lot more information, including all the tax returns that's under that TFN or the ABN that's included. For BAS agents, it will pull up all the activity statements as well as the taxable payment annual reports. SDP is currently not available, but hopefully in the future.
Yeah, look, I'm looking forward to that when that happens. So you can see here, I'm going to go back here, you can see here that we have the ATO accounts. We can remove a client from our listing. We can update addresses, authorize contacts. You can see this, we can update the financial institution details, all from within the comfort of GovReports. Now, the other one that I wanted to show you is the activity statement summary. So in here, what this does is it allows you to select the financial year, and this probably won't generate anything in here because it's not a true lodgement. But in here, you'll be able to generate an activity summary statement, which will basically show you the total that you have submitted for each quarter or month, how often you actually lodge, and it will have all the different periods. It will have the different columns, the 1A, the G1s, it'll have the PAYG, it'll have the PAYG income tax instalment. It will show them all to you in this report. Now, this is a great report. And if you want to look at another client report for that same period, you don't have to back out and go back into the client to do that. All you need to do is choose the client and click generate to upload the new one. Now, the other thing you can do with this is you can download a copy of this into Excel. This makes it really good. I utilize this really frequently when I'm at the end of the financial year, when I'm going through and double checking the GST reconciliation, the PAYG reconciliation. I'm double checking what I declared on the BASs or the IASs and what I've got left, and I'm reconciling back to the general ledger, and I've got all that information on hand to be able to reconcile. Now, the other thing that you can also do with this activity summary statement is actually start a conversation with your clients. Because if I was to choose the 2022 year and it populated the information, I would see in advance what my PAYG income tax instalments might be. I would see what the FBT instalments might be if I'm on FBT. And so we could start a conversation around tax planning, cash flow planning to be able to finance and pay for those upcoming BAS and tax commitments, and even budgeting. So we have an opportunity there to have that discussion with our clients. And we can download that information and include it in a letter, which I'll talk about later in the letters and templates. Now, not only do we have that ATO communication within the clients, the ATO services, we also have in our practice here, my practice, you'll see ATO client communications. Now, this is a fairly new feature in GovReports. That's a really secure record of communications with the ATO. And Tiana, are you going to put the PDF up at all? Because I've actually actually what I might do is flick back temporarily to my PowerPoint, because I actually have the screenshots there of what it actually looks like. So bear with me for one moment whilst I find the ATO communication ones. ATO. That's that one, and what is that one? This one. All right. So it's a new feature, as I mentioned. You can now request, retrieve, view, download, and share with your clients via email historical ATO client communications without the need to log into the portal. It also means you can always be up to date with those communications. It means that you've got all that information at your fingertips as you're preparing a tax return or doing a BAS or whatever. You've got those communications there. And it picks up all the communications that the ATO has done, whether they've emailed it out, whether they've posted it out, whether they've done it by SMS or MyGov or online or through an agent. And you can set up the communications for one client, multiple clients, or your whole client list. So I'm just going to show you where we go. So we go into this area called My Practice. So in My Practice, you'll find the ATO client communications. And when you log in, you'll be asked to enable this ATO client communication. And it will then sync with the ATO to extract the information. Now, obviously, in the test file, I can't demonstrate that, but I have taken a quick snapshot of my own file and blotted out my client names. And you can see here that my client here has got a payment plan reminder that's gone out. It went out by SMS. This was an activity statement has been made available and the client's been emailed. And you can see all the information that the ATO has been communicating with our clients. On the right-hand side, you'll see the option that you can view that communication, you can download it, or you can email it to the client. So it's a great way of just saying, just a reminder, ATO has sent this to you about your payment plan. Please ensure that you make your payment on time or whatever you want to do. Any questions about that? That's all I was going to cover off on that at this moment. We're going to move now into our letters and templates. We covered this a little bit yesterday, but we're going to look at this with a different light today. Today, we're going to look at it in terms of client communication. So I'm going to go back into our GovReports. And to access the letters and templates, we go to Settings. We then go into our Practice Settings. And we go into our Templates and Letters. Of course, the system wants to be slow for me today. There we go. We go into our templates and letters. I could have just as easily clicked on here as well to get it to come up. Now, at the moment, it opens up on my template screen and shows me the templates that I have. So it's not just limited, the templates area here, it's not just limited to setting up client engagement letters. You can use the templates and letters to communicate information to your clients in the form of newsletters, information updates, and so much more. You can set the letters up to be sent to an individual client or a group of clients or all your clients. And there are 3 types of letters in GovReports. There is a proposal letter, there is an engagement letter, and there is an ethical letter. Tiana, are you able to tell me a little bit about more what the ethical letter type is?
This is when an agent take over over a client that's coming from another agent, and sometimes they want to bring across some of the existing data from the existing agent. So it's a transfer of documentations, request of information. So it's more applicable for tax agents than it is for BAS agent.
Absolutely. All right, so now in here, I'm going to add a new template. So I'm going to click on the Add a Template here. Or what I can do is from the actions here, I could choose an existing template. So in here, if I select here and go Start, it will start using that template. So I'm just going to click on the Add a Template button here. And what I'm going to do here is I want to give it a name. So it's a COVID update. And I always, with this one, I tend to use it as an engagement, not a proposal. And now I can start to write my template, the format of my template. And it might be, dear, and then I'm going to choose my placeholder, and I'm looking for my contact name. And I'll go something like with the latest round. Okay. And blah, 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 and keep on going. And then I might go down here and I'll go, the end of it, I'll go kind regard. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. So in this case, I'm doing a COVID funding assistance update, something like that. So I've now got the basic structure of my template, and I'm going to save that. So now when I go here to this one and I go Start, you'll see now that it's come up with the start. I'll have to put a commencement and end date and a fiscal period in. But I have the option here to select certain clients, or I could have all my active clients, or I could have all archived clients. I might be, say you were a tax practitioner and you had taken over someone's client base and they were using GovReports and there are a whole series of archived clients that hadn't been contacted for a while. You might want to send out a letter to say, I've just taken over, reaching out to see if there's anything we can do for you. We know that, whatever it is that you do from that perspective, I can't speak for that because I'm a BAS agent, but you might want to reach out to those clients that you haven't heard from for a while, or they're archived ones. So you might want to do that. And so you would select, I'm just going to choose one client at the moment, and I'm happy with that. I would put in my commencement date. I'm just going to do to the 28th of the 2nd, 2022 for the fiscal year. And when I click Save, I've saved it successfully. And once I've done that, I'm actually able to preview it. So when I preview it now, I can have a look at what it's going to look like. Now, obviously, it doesn't look like much because I haven't got any logo or anything in there that's going to make it look pretty, but you've got the idea of how it can go out. At the bottom here, I can email it to the client, or if it's something that requires a signature, I could send it for the e-signature. Now, if I send it for e-signature, it will open up the digital authentication program. If I go to email to a client, it will open up a window so that it pops up with the client email details for me to send it through to them. And I can also, at this stage, to the client, I could upload any other attachment I like to do. And so in this, I might actually talk about a COVID funding assistance, and I might have a PDF that's a little synopsis of everything, and I might like to upload that and send that off to the client. Now, once that's done, I'm just going to go back now for here. You'll see that anything that has been saved before it is sent, it will say in a draft situation. But when it's sent, it will become pending. You'll also notice that you can, in the pending one, change it back to draft or send for, you can see the different options you have in the actions columns here on how you're going to deal with that letter. So let's look at where we might utilize the letters and templates in communicating with our clients and organizing our own workflow. So we could use things such as the outstanding reports, and I'm just going to flick back in a second now to my my PowerPoint to talk about this. So we could use the information in the outstanding reports to set up letters to assist in our client communications, as well as organising our own workflow. So it might be that we set up letters to send to clients to remind them of that upcoming activity statement lodgements. We might set up letters to send to clients to remind them of upcoming superannuation commitments, to remind them of upcoming taxation deadlines. We might set them up to talk about changes in their obligations. It might be a change in the PAYG income tax instalment rates. We might want to talk to them about, because the rate's gone up significantly, you might want to look about cash flow planning. What about our tax planning? We can set up letters to provide clients with updated information on COVID relief grants or other government incentives, or any type of newsworthy information. And then we could also set up a monthly, quarterly newsletters, maybe, however you like to do that. So these are some of the options that we can do to utilize this in our cash flow. So have a think about how you're currently using GovReports and whether you're using and maximizing it to its full potential of using those letters and templates to actually assist you in your workflow and communicate more with the client. Because keeping contact with the client, that touch point of keeping in contact with the client is so important. It's how often have we heard people changing accountants because they hear, I don't hear from them. I hear from them once a year. This is a way of keeping those touch points there. You are their trusted advisor, and you want to keep those lines of communication and that relationship open. And this is one way that we can do it. Now, if you need further information on the GovReports and setting up the templates and letters, you have the user guide in the GovReports Help Center, which you can access via the little question mark in GovReports on the top right, to give you a little bit more, along with, you'll see there are some templates and resources as well. that pretty much covers what I had to talk about today on the tools and features for client communications. That's it for me. Tiana, is there anything else you'd like to cover? Nope, it's all quiet. Are there any other questions at the moment about what we were talking about there?
I was talking to myself. I was on mute. Sorry. We did have a few questions from while you were presenting earlier, and I think we covered most of that. We answered back. I think the question was from Roger, and that was relating to the digital signature, whether encrypting emails that have correspondence from the ATO. We use all the default email encryptions for the SMTP, but SMTP already answered the questions. We use all the default email encryptions for SMTP based on the email service provider. So we do encrypt the emails. So the answer is yes.
Thanks, Tiana.
Okay, let me see if there's any other questions. Okay. Thanks, Roger. We'll take note of that relating to the encryptions. Yeah, that seems to be all the questions that we have so far. And if we've come up with any other questions during, like after the webinar, you can send it to us or just give us a call. We'll attend to that, or we'll pass it on to Ali if we don't have the answers relating technically. But otherwise, we can assist you with any with queries that you can, if you have queries after the webinar. Now, it seems like we don't have any other questions.
Okay.
You covered well.
Thank
Ali?
you.
Well, thanks, Ali, for your time and the tips that you have given us. Like I said, if anyone have questions, you can send it to us. Otherwise, we'll just finish the sessions today, which is a little bit earlier than expected.
Yes, good. Ready time to go and cook for dinner now. Wonderful.
All right, thanks, everyone. Thanks, Ali. And we look forward to see you again on our next webinar.
See you later. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.